Good afternoon. My name is Trace Mefford. I'm currently recording the week 1 assignment for FTT211, or the stock refinishing and metalworking course. Today's date is the 3rd of October 2025. Today we'll be taking and doing the staining and finishing on our wooden stock, as well as the polishing for all of our brass components that'll be put on as a part of our muzzleloader build. So jumping into it, first thing we're going to do is apply a thin coat of our provided finish. They just sent out a can of Gunstock 231 penetrating stain. We'll go ahead and let that sit and coat for about 24 hours so that it dries through. And then we'll sand it down with some double-aught steel wool. And then kind of go from there. If we want to go darker, we can go darker. If we need to go lighter, we can change things up from there. Once that's complete, we'll then go ahead and apply our true oil to it to give it that last little bit of a finish. Depending on how it looks after we put the true oil on, I'll either be using the same steel wool method to remove some of the finish to give it more of a satin appearance. Or if I want to leave it, I think it looks a little bit better in that high gloss, we'll go ahead and leave it as is once we put the oil on. So I'm going to go ahead, pause, we'll throw some safety gear on and get started. Okay, so first things first, I did already add a coat of our stain to our stock itself. There are some spots that I am going to go through and touch up. I do also have some pictures that I'll be hopefully editing into the video that will show you what it looked like before we added the stain. But to show the process, all we're really going to do is take some of our stain on a paper towel and just evenly coat it all the way across the wood. Now, as I said, there are some spots that I'm needing to go back over that were a little bit lighter and didn't quite get the stain that it needed. So we're going to go ahead and fix that right now. But you want to make sure that you have a good deal of stain on it. It's not going to hurt the wood too much if it penetrates too far in, and it's better to have, you know, more stain on this as far as this stuff goes than to not have enough. The other part that you need to be careful of when applying the stain is it does make a mess. So obviously some gloves, eye protection for any splatters, and potentially like an old rag or old shop towel or something on the floor to catch anything that drips off. So you're going to want to make sure that you get every portion of the stock itself, inside and out, to make sure that it all has that same piece. You also want to give a good bit of attention to any holes that are drilled for, you know, pins or whatever. In the case for this, it'll be, you know, your pinion holes and the holes for your end caps and so forth. Then once that's all done, we take and go back through, clean up any little extra puddles that might be hiding in the nooks and crannies, and then let it take and dry. So while it's going to take about 24 hours for this to take and dry, I'm going to go ahead and hang it up, leave it up, and I will revisit this portion of the assignment tomorrow. And for the rest of the day, we will focus on our brass cleanup. Okay, so as you can probably see, I have my stock back behind me, taken and drying. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on our brass polishing. So all we're really going to be doing for this is using the same method that we used for our preliminary brass cleanup However, instead of using, you know, the files and everything to shape it, we're actually going to be using some 320 grain, 320 grit and 400 grit sandpaper. We'll start off with the 320. We'll go in one direction, and then we'll go in the other direction for the 400 once we get there. Now, we're not going to highly polish or take any type of crazy polish or anything else like that to it, for the simple fact of that is going to end up showing a lot more of the scratches, dings, and little nicks that we don't want seen once the rifle's all put back together. All we're really looking for with this brass cleanup or polish is going to be kind of a smoother look to the brass itself, so that it's not as, you know, crazy or scuffed up. I don't know if it's really going to show much there, but there were a couple of different points in the first course, or first portion of the course, when working on inletting and everything and shaping the stock, that our sandpaper and everything else did scuff up the brass quite a bit. So we have to now go through and clean all that up. So what we're going to do, just because I know it is going to take quite a while for me to go through, sand everything by hand and everything else, and I don't want a bunch of long lengths of pauses and just silence of me sanding in the video. I'm going to go ahead and pause. I'll get these knocked out, and then we'll rejoin here in just a minute. Okay, so we've gone ahead, polished up all of our brass. On this toe plate here, I left it a little bit off on one side so we can try and see the difference between our components, between what we're looking for as far as our polished pieces from non-polished or unpolished pieces. So the only thing left for the assignment this week is wait for this guy to dry. Once it's dried, we'll take and rub it down real quick with some steel wool and kind of go from there. So I'll give it about 24 hours, like I said, and we'll see how it looks tomorrow morning. Alright, so it's been about 24 hours. Our stain is all completely dry. We get a nice dark color to it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and just kind of lightly rub it down with some steel wool. Like I said earlier, it's just some double aught or 00, whatever you want to call it, steel wool that I got at like Harbor Freight. You can kind of just get it anywhere. I like to open up the roll and just kind of give it a nice light rub down, essentially. And all this is really going to do is kind of help open it up so that we can see those the grain of the wood that took on our stain. And we can go from there. All right. So we still have a lot darker than what it originally looked like. Let's see. I have a little spot here. It'll probably be pretty hard to tell where all that shine is, and it's a lot lighter. And even there in the inside, if I can get some light in there, it was a lot lighter of a wood to begin with. However, you know, once we put that stain in there, we put on about 2 coats now of the stain. So I think I'm going to call it good at that. We'll go ahead, hang it back up, and throw our True Oil on. Okay, so once we have our stock hung back up and we're ready to go for it, all we're really going to do is take our True Oil, put a little bit of it in our clean hands, and just rub it together or rub it on like we're rubbing on lotion. You know, all we want is a nice thin coat evenly across the whole rifle, or the whole stock, sorry. And all this is really going to do is seal and protect that, help seal and protect that wood, so that if we decide we want to take this muzzle loader out hunting or out to the range on a rainy day or anything else, it'll help keep it protected and keep it from warping. And you don't need a whole lot of it. You just need to make sure everything's nice and evenly coated across the entire stock, which it looks like we are. So we'll go ahead, and now we're gonna have to give this another 24 hours or so to finish drying. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and see where it is from there. Okay, so it's actually only been a few hours since we put the True Oil on our stock. However, it is dry, and I'm going to say that as it sits now, I did take and apply or run over it with the steel wool just a little bit to kind of see what happened. And honestly, I'm kind of liking the partial sheen it has going on. So we're gonna go ahead and call it good with that. That will pretty much do it for this week's assignment. So I'll see you guys next week.